So, coming out of college, I was always someone that just sort of built my own custom computer. So I'm living in Chicago after I graduated, and I have a custom Windows PC. It's got Windows XP on it, and Windows Movie Maker. I'm not doing any filmmaking
Best
or anything.
Windows, by the way, it was XP.
Yeah,
No
agreed.
doubt.
And now I'm like starting to transition from acting into writing. So I'm writing screenplays and trying to figure all that out. Well, I talked to my sister one day, my older sister, and she mentions how she has this Apple iBook G3. And this is, this is like pre-iPhone.
The I stands for Internet Book. Yeah.
Right. This is pre-iPhone. This is where Steve Jobs has had a few, 2-3 years under his belt as the returning CEO at Apple, and he's come out with some pretty amazing products. Well, she tells me she has this computer, but she's not using it because they made her use a Windows laptop, blah, blah, blah. So it's just sitting there. She's like, I'm not going to give it to you, but I'm not using it, so why don't I bring it home the next time I come home? She was living in Arizona. We were in Chicago. I'll bring it home and you can use it. Well, I look up what it is and kind of like, I'm familiar with Apple at this point, but not whatever. And I see what it is, and literally
you start to envision future you taking over the world with this thing.
Yeah, and I'm like, knowing that is out there and I get to use it, now this computer is a big giant piece of shit and I never want to look at it again. And I had just told myself, like, I can't get any writing done because I know I'm not using the best tool that I have at my disposal. And part of it wasn't actually like, oh, the design of an Apple iBook and blah, blah, blah. It was the portability. I had a hard time always just writing in my apartment at the big giant.
It's funny though.
monitor.
You're like, I've never written anywhere else, and then as soon as you imagine yourself writing in the forest, you're like, I'm gonna write in the forest every day.
Yeah. And I was living in, so I just got brain locked. And it was a couple of months before she came home, and she didn't want to ship it to me because I was kind of pushing for that. Anyway, I just shut down all of the execution that I had been doing. I was writing my working on one screenplay and ideas for others during this time. And I just shut it all down because I was like, this inanimate object is required. Yeah. It's a better tool, and it frees me up. I can't do anything without it.
The reason I bring up that story is because I think it's such a good example. You called it being like brain locked, being frozen.
Yep.
I think it's a great example of what a lot of take stock of your resources and just start with those.
Yeah.
And if stuff comes up along the way, and I've been absolutely guilty of that same phenomenon. But if things come up along the way, just keep executing with what you have.
Right.
There's no better. Like, you got that computer. Mm-hmm. That computer is long gone.
Yeah.
Like, did it really make that much of a difference in the grand? I mean, I know you did a lot of work on that, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No. You can work with whatever you have right now. Like, you can write on a pad and paper. That's free. There's no computer for that. And it's better to write an entire thing on a piece of pad and paper than to not write something on that beautiful computer that you might have in the future.
Well, and that really goes to the point that I talked about earlier when it comes to execution. I referenced this with my wife and I having kids, and I'm not going to get into that, but there's you can make yourself sort of ingredient or conditions based executor, where, well, I know I can execute this. I know I can do it, but I have to wait till all these things are in alignment before I do. And probably
conditional
underneath it all, you kind of know that the conditions are never going to be perfect. So it's a great way to just keep kicking the can and not execute. My wife and I would say this about having kids. Well, we just need to have this, this, and this, and then we'll start having kids. I'm starting to get to be 35, 36 years old. And there's no doubt, I've wanted kids my whole life. I'm like, I am starting a family.
Like,
we were both on the same page.
Kids,
And, we both literally said to ourselves, these conditions are never going to happen.
Yeah.
And our friends told us, we thought the same thing. It's all bullshit.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Your fears are guiding you right now.
Yeah.
Don't let them. Just get started. And I think that's the same thing. I think we have multiple ingredients of things, because to give ourselves credit, kind of what I was talking about, my old YouTuber self, love that guy because he was clueless or didn't know this or didn't know that, but it's okay. We have done stuff. We did a spec television commercial. You did the Revlon thing with the 16 millimeter film. We we did a couple of YouTube videos, and there was pay involved in that, but it was still
We've
a
done
lot
pre-production
of work
on a couple of projects that tailed off, but
we shot a documentary, but I haven't edited it, and we haven't looked at it any further. I know we will.
Yeah.
And we may even look back on that one specifically and go, I kind of feel like it had to happen this way.
Yeah.
Anyway,
maybe that's what we're telling ourselves.
Yeah. But these
that's the iBook.
These conditional executors. So you have sort of like the snobby folks, right? Like you talked about the delta between taste and capability. But then I think you also have like the conditional non-executors. Yeah. You have people who are like, I'm confident that I can do it. It's just that I need this, this, and this.
It had been a golden afternoon, and I remember having the familiar conviction that life was beginning over again with the sunrise.